Often in life, we are faced with decisions, we are faced with choices that we have to make. These decisions and choices literally dictate success or failure. Many times in life in general, just determine our future, tomorrow and beyond. So what are we saying? Right now, we find ourselves at the crossroads of a new global economy. We're literally entering a new era of how global finance, global economics is working. We're entering a whole new era of a new technology known as the blockchain technology, the digital era. We are in the process of upgrading, updating the entire infrastructure of the financial system. So, what we're saying here is that our path forward, like this article is saying, and our failure or success rate is determined by how we face the challenges today, and also how we embrace the opportunities. And that means, in order to embrace and look at these challenges as an opportunity, we first need to even understand what even are the challenges that we're confronted with, right? So, with that said, let's get to right here. We all humans, we all error, right? Nobody's perfect. We all make mistakes, and we'll make even more mistakes before we leave this space, or this space called Earth and human experience that we have. However, so the challenge is not to be perfect and be faultless, but rather to learn from the mistakes and do better. If we know better, we do better. What does that mean? Best example is this amazing company known as Bit Digital. They started as Bitcoin miners. They were a Bitcoin mining company, which shifted literally the entire treasury strategy, right, to Ethereum. And now they became one of the largest Ethereum holders and actually among the public companies. And they're using Ethereum as their treasury strategy. So why is this so relevant? Because like we said, we are faced with choices and decisions to make right now. And this choice that Bit Digital did, they're not on their own. Actually, many former Bitcoin miners or other companies decided, and these are the different categories. There are blockchains, which 35% are blockchains. Roughly 25% are using Ethereum as their treasury strategy. And then there are Web3 companies, which are crypto companies, also representing roughly 24%. The rest are governments and public companies. So who are those? Of course, number one, as of now, is still Ethereum Foundation. And then SharpLink is the very first one, led by the Ethereum co-founder. And then we see other ones that are just joined here on the right side, just like 5 hours ago. This one called Abstract, they're holding over 563 ETH, Ronin Network, and then Frax Finance as well. So what does this mean? No longer is Ethereum purchasing just left for retailers. Now, listed companies on NASDAQ and other exchanges are now literally purchasing Ethereum and staking it and earning rewards for it. And Ethereum being on the balance sheet just gives them, as a treasury strategy, gives them also added value on the balance sheet. And as the company gains or becomes more valuable, they'll be able to use or rather leverage the success of the company to acquire even more liquidity from their shareholders to purchase even more ETH. Now, without getting too much into detail, I just want us to get to the point. Why am I pointing all of this? Why am I pointing out all of this? It's really simple. There's a 25-year anniversary of the dot-com bubble, right? So it's been 25 years literally since the dot-com bubble in the year 2000. And back then, like we always say, in hindsight, we're always smarter. But back then, if you were able to be transported back in the past 25 years ago, you would put everything in motion to ensure that you purchase these stocks back then. And without going through the whole article, I just want us to highlight just a few things here. The obvious ones that were around was Nvidia and Apple. Ironically, they are the two top companies right now in the world, and they're amongst the so-called Magnificent Seven. We'll get to that. The point we're trying to make here is that we all know the dot-com bubble was an era where the internet in the early 90s, to be exact 1993, when the internet became publicly accessible to everyone for private consumption. And that's when these individual companies were among the period where it's known as the dot-com bubble, where everybody had a dot-com website and was coming up with creative ideas how to utilize this technology known as the internet. So everybody was trying their best to make this work somehow. Fast forward today, this is exactly what we're experiencing today. With this new blockchain technology, there's so many tokens, so many cryptocurrencies are being launched, tens of thousands on a daily basis, 1 million a month, in forms of blockchains, in form of utility tokens, in form of meme coins, predominantly. So everybody's trying their luck or trying their, being creative to put something out. This is exactly what was happening back during the dot-com bubble. And the point we're trying to make here is that those who made it out, right? Those who came out of the dot-com bubble, not just came out and survived the dot-com bubble, but they're market leaders today. And I want to highlight what were they focusing on. First of all, they were obviously utilizing this new technology known as the internet. And let's look at them specifically. What were they doing? They were adding value. They were addressing challenges. Remember how we started this session today. Your success or failure will be determined based on how you address and face the challenges of today in the industry and how you embrace the opportunities, period. So the most obvious one was Apple. Apple was struggling. It was just a small, struggling maker of Mac computers during the dot-com era. It wasn't the Apple as we know them today, the trailblazers, the trendsetters. If you hold an Apple product, you right? Like you feel like you're in among the chosen few, right? It's a statement of it's a brand that has a statement, right? And it has an ecosystem with all kinds of different various products. Without needless to say, they were producing personal computers back then, and to serve as a bridge between the user and the technology itself, which was the internet. However, that's exactly what made them not just survive but thrive beyond the dot-com bubble, because this is something that was literally connecting the users to this new technology. Let's move forward. Priceline was another company. What is Priceline? Literally an online travel service. They were utilizing this new technology and allowing, or rather giving access to online travel services on a global scale, because if you have a website online, you're unrestricted. All 5 continents have access to that website. So you are opening yourself for global travel, and this is exactly why they didn't just thrive, but they didn't just survive, but thrived beyond the dot-com bubble. Another one is Amazon, one of the Magnificent Sevens. Why did they not just survive but thrive? It's simply because they were doing e-commerce. They were having making available products on a global scale, where you were not restricted to your local grocery store or your department store locally, but you were cross-border. You were able to order goods online and have them delivered at your doorstep. And beyond that, they quickly diversified from just books, which they started with selling books online, to CDs and DVDs and other electronics and other categories that they just kept adding on for e-commerce stores. And also, what really gave them the breakthrough was when they now added, on top of goods, they added services, specifically cloud computing services. And they were the pioneers. Actually, in 2008, they actually kickstarted cloud computing. Cloud computing is what we are using for our staking platform as well. So if you're a host, like you're a streaming network, like for example Netflix, they're using cloud computing services as well from either Amazon or Microsoft or Google. Those are the three that are actually oligarchy. They're like literally they're dominating the industry. So who else? Adobe. Adobe is a graphic software maker. So they're producing software for these hardwares like the ones, for example, that Apple is using. Adobe, for example, the product is like the PDFs, right? And then ASML is known for the chip maker. They're the largest chip maker in the world out of Europe. They're a Dutch company. Intuit is also a financial software maker, right? Also, anything that has to do with software that helps or facilitates running hardwares that computer giants, tech giants like IBM, for example, are producing is also made it out of the dot-com bubble. Our ARM is another chip designer as well. And then we have eBay, just like Amazon. They're also another e-commerce company. And then we have Oracle, that's another database business, also a software company. SanDisk, they're doing flash memory chips. These are hardwares that we need. For example, if we record things on our phones or our cameras, then we can connect them to our personal computers and then upload them on YouTube or whatever platform that we desire, on Instagram, on Facebook, whatever the case may be. So anything, any company that facilitated access to the internet or the use of it, or utilizing internet as a platform to offer products, goods, and services, didn't just thrive and didn't just survive the dot-com bubble, but thrived. What are we saying with that community? Let's get to the point right here. What we're saying here is that, as we see, we all do errors, but let's learn from it. And just beyond, one of the major companies as well that is focusing right now heavily on acquiring Ethereum, and it's no more just retailers acquiring Ethereum, but it's also now listed companies. Publicly listed companies like Sharplink, for example, acquired massive amount of ETH, spending over 19 million at an average price of 2,500 per ETH. And also what they did, because they are staking ETH, right? They also earned 322 ETH in staking rewards. At the current price, that's close to $1 million. So it's just below $1 million just from staking rewards alone. And this is a company that previously was not making much revenue. And now just passively, since they adopted this strategy, they're making revenue passively, earning revenue passively without any effort besides just staking the Ethereum. So this is what we are talking about, that this is the adoption that is slowly coming in and the understanding of it, of what Ethereum actually represents. And what I want us to also see and understand is that this right here. So Ethereum treasury companies are now buying more ETH than they issue. Like even the last 30 days alone, we see how there were roughly 77,000 new ETH were issued. But however, because the banning mechanism, it turned out to be only 57 because Ethereum has banning mechanism. So in that same time frame, over 200,000 ETH were actually bought by these specific treasury companies, like we just discussed. Like this one, like we said, SharpLink Gaming, that acquired over 7,000 ETH for 19 million. So this is exactly what we're talking about, that now you have an asset that is a technology at the same time, and that when you stake it, it gives you literally ETH, it gives you rewards without causing inflation. Why are we mentioning all of this? When we started this session, we talked about opportunities. Your success and failure depends heavily on the choices we make today. And we are at a new crossroad right now, facing new opportunities, however, also facing new challenges. How we embrace these challenges and turn them into opportunities, the choices we make today will dictate our success or failure. As an example, we looked at the dot-com bubble companies that didn't just survive, but are the leaders, the market leaders of today, because they focused on facing these challenges in the industries and actually providing solutions for them. If we look at this final post right here, and we listen to Tom Lee, what he says, I hope you'll be able to listen to hear the audio. Let me play it for you.
You're basically saying that this is the new Bitcoin. You're getting in at a very early stage.
Correct. That's right. Because let's say stablecoins, which is 250 billion today, gets to Treasury Secretary Bessent's reasonable 2 trillion. That's a 10 times increase in size. By the way, already stablecoins are the 12th largest holder of treasuries. They'll become the #1 holder by then. US dollar dominance is 27% in GDP terms. It's 57% of central bank reserves. It's 80% of financial trading transactions. It's 100% of stablecoin denomination. So by getting to 2 trillion, you're ensuring dollar dominance. This is very good for the US, but 2 trillion of stablecoins is a lot of network fees for Ethereum.
You're basically saying.
So I hope you had the audio, but just to summarize it, he was literally just highlighting that stablecoins are projected to hit $2 trillion within the next decade or the next few years. Currently, it's at a 200 billion market cap. So that's a 10x. It's supposed to do a 10x to reach there. And predominantly, these stable coins are predominantly on Ethereum already. So Tom Lee, and he is actually the one that we were discussing here that changed their strategy. Let me go back here. He is the founder, right? The CEO of Bit Digital. He's the one that turned their treasury entirely from Bitcoin to Ethereum, right? So he is suggesting the reason why he did that, he made that major move, is because he realized that stable coins are literally the next big deal. And it's beyond just facilitating settlements on chain, but it also serves a bigger purpose to bring digital demand for the digital dollar globally, but also to bring down the interest rates by bringing demand for treasuries, because these stablecoin issuers, which are banks predominantly and financial institutions that will be issuing their individual stablecoins, they'll be required to purchase treasury bonds, right? Treasury bills. And these treasury bills will be backing the stable coins that they're issuing, meaning it will bring demand for the digital dollar, and it will bring demand for the treasury bills for the strengthen the bond market, the US bond market. This will bring down the interest rates, will make access to liquidity, to funds easier, allowing the banks then again to issue even more stable coins at even lower rates. And this is how we're going to experience a rush in liquidity. Now, let's look at this specifically. If we look at this specifically, we'll realize that, let me refresh it. We realize that, yes, stablecoins are predominantly issued on Ethereum, as we see here. More than half, 60% of all stablecoins are literally issued on Ethereum. So imagine the $2 trillion. If the 60% of that $2 trillion hits, which will be over 1 trillion, obviously 1.2 trillion, hitting Ethereum, imagine the volume that is going to be absorbed by Ethereum. Now, that's just now it goes beyond that. Let's look at something else. We also have, of course, treasuries, the bond market, which is one of the largest and most liquid markets, financial assets in the industry, in the financial industry. And look how over 75% of that tokenized treasuries are also on Ethereum. So besides the stable coins that Tom Lee was talking about, also treasuries are also on Ethereum and in the hundreds of trillions of dollars, coming also on Ethereum in the tokenized version. So imagine how much demand, how much liquidity, how much volume Ethereum is about to experience. Besides this, we also have something known as commodities. And this is even more fascinating. 99% of all commodities right now, tokenized commodities, are on Ethereum already. So these are just 3 asset classes that we can briefly show you that are already on Ethereum predominantly. Imagine how much liquidity, and it's only 1 billion. And these are asset classes in the trillions, tens of trillions of dollars. So imagine all that coming on chain in the next years. So this is why all these strategic companies are turning Ethereum into treasury strategy, because they understand and they're front running global adoption of Ethereum. So they want to be acquiring as much as possible, because it's an active asset, meaning you purchase it, you stake it, and you earn consistent, perpetual staking rewards without causing inflation. It's the ultimate treasury strategy for governments, corporations, individuals, you name it. So why are we talking about all of this? Let's go all the way back. We started this session by identifying that we are literally sitting at the doorstep of a new global economy. It's a new era. And our success and failure are determined by how we confront these challenges and turn these challenges into opportunities and embrace them. That's what this session is all about, to let us know that whatever decisions we make today, let's make rational decisions, not emotional ones. And let's look at these challenges, not to scare us, but let's confront our fears and embrace these challenges and look at them as opportunities. And the best way to do that is, like you see these companies learning from mistakes. We all will make mistakes today, tomorrow, next week, next year. However, the challenge is how to move beyond. Once you make that mistake, you can still turn it around and do it right, right? And this is exactly what companies like Bit Digital identified. And they're turning around the treasuries strategy from Bitcoin to Ethereum to a more active asset that literally is producing revenue, cash flow for them, besides just increasing in value, but it's also producing liquidity for them as they are holding their assets on their balance sheet. And that's the type of asset you want, one that is active, that gives you cash flow without causing inflation. So that's the message for today, community. I hope the message came across, and I hope we understand that decisions we make today are literally going to dictate our success or failure. Let's embrace this new technology like the Magnificent Seven did during the dot-com bubble. They turned these challenges They confronted them and then turned these challenges into opportunities and embraced them. That's what this ecosystem is about. We are turning these challenges that we are faced with, which is lack of liquidity, inflation, unsustainable staking distributions, and lack of, or rather inefficient use of volume. We're turning those challenges into opportunities and embracing them, turn them into smart contracts and deployed them, and using our ecosystem to address them. That's how you take advantage and make the most of this new global economy as we enter in this new era. Let's confront these challenges and turn them into opportunities, community. This is it for today. Thank you very much for tuning in. Till we see you again. Bye-bye, community.